It was shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. I don't know what that means. What does that mean exactly, the money's in the cookie jar?
You used to keep your money in a cookie jar. I was trying to wait until after the money was in the cookie jar. By the way, I have cookie jar in one of my songs that people really like, the cookie jar song. They don't know the name of it, so they call it the cookie jar song.
You just flat out took my cookie jar?
I did this. This is the first song I ever wrote when I was 16, so I didn't know you yet. Where it says her hand's always in the cookie jar was my use of the cookie jar. You put your money in there. Mine, the girl, was digging in the cookie jar. So we were coming out of two different places. Obviously, the cookie jar is important.
As we often have. Morning, Philip Gussman.
How you doing today, buddy? I made it last a little longer. You might actually be able to read them today. Who knows? Who knows? So me and Paul had a half-hour discussion before you guys even, before we even got to you guys.
Yeah, so we're sort of talked out. We got nothing to say to each other.
We're done, y'all. We should have went at 8:30 today. We were talking movies, though, right? We were talking movies.
Yeah, the movie Collateral Beauty on Netflix was really quite something. It was Will Smith, Helen Mirren, Ed Norton Jr., Kate Winslet, just a stellar cast, and really heavy topic. Will Smith has lost a child, and he can't stop grieving. He can't move on, and he writes letters to love, time, and death, and they answer him.
That's very scary. Like I said, that's it's like Scrooge, except for love, time, and death show up instead of
And he's not a bad guy. He was a good guy. He just happened to lose a child.
Right.
So it's like Scrooge, only if you were like half listening.
Yeah, only if you were. Yeah, if it's half the story. It's half story.
Morning, Mark.
Well, it's like the Altman way to do it. It's like
it's Eric DeSanto from Cumberland County.
Nice.
That's my friend. Cumberland County is my friend Eric DeSanto and Kristen Corville up in Baton Rouge. And he's a fine blues picker, man. He can, he really, I mean, he plays acoustic solo, whip out that slide, and just, he can make it howl and jowl.
I wonder if he's playing out in the world yet.
He is. He's one of those guys that's, first of all, he's much younger than me, so he's not nearly as afraid of dying, coughing to death as I am. But he and Kristen were sort of just getting their wheels going. They just sort of had their second record coming in. They were just finding gigs beyond their normal pale, where they were stretching out their touring, like so many young musicians, like Shamar was doing and Erica Falls was doing. That to me was the most difficult thing about watching the pandemic. Like I was old. I could sit on the sidelines and go, I needed a break anyway.
Right.
But I know Shamar worked really hard, not just to finish the record, but to line it all up. You know what it is. You do it too. You line up the press and the touring and the gigs, and everything has to fall into place so that you can get momentum going and have the right to do it one more day, which is all you're looking for, really.
Yep.
And so Eric and Kristen are very much like that. And as soon as they could start playing again, they did.
I remember, you remember Paul P., obviously good guy. Really good guy.
Yes.
Well, Paul P. was actually helping us. At a certain point, he was kind of trying to manage us, I guess, because he was living in L.A., and, he was like, hey, man, I've met a few people. Let me pass your stuff around. I really like it, blah, blah, blah. So we were talking to him, and, he was passing our stuff around, and he even helped us, work on certain songs for the third record. He was like, I need something like this. It was one of those kind of things, where everybody's all like, yeah, sure. What do you need? What are they looking for? Absolutely. Here you go. So we were given some. It was, Jezebel was our piece of art. The first record was us kind of stretching our legs, and the third one was like, can we make money doing this? Really? All right, we'll give you, whatever. Long story short, I'm trying to remember where I was going with. We'd gotten everything together. He had the press. People were interested. We finished the record, and we have the record release party, the House of Blues, and we're all excited. And we had it on in 2012. Was it 20? It was 2005. 2005, August 28th. or 27th or maybe the week before. So it had been 21st of 2005 or something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like, we had a box of 1,000 CDs, and then
Uh,
a week later we had basically about 3 of those little 30 boxes that we fit in our cars each to
oh
take
my
with us because
God.
me and Skeet split it. And yeah, so the ones at Skeet's house were actually okay because I think he had given me half of them and he'd taken half. But yeah, but the big thing was is that everything that we were planning on doing at that point was suddenly, well, no plans for the next, however long, and that year is such a weird year. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was funny.
Yeah. Not funny, haha.
No, no.
Not funny, haha.
No, but I do remember, yeah, man, we did the big build up. You spend the money, you do the press, you do the whole thing, and then it's like, oh, great, the hurricane
Yeah.
that destroys New Orleans.
It's so difficult to get that momentum going again once because it's tough enough to get people's interests up the first time around. You're
Right.
talking about having energized your family and friends, your fan base, the press that you know, what few radio stations you might know, and you have them, and you've worked months because you're lining up something across the country, so it takes a long time to do it. And then literally on March 13th of 2020, it's just no, you don't get to do any of that stuff.
Right.
I was so glad to have been on a break. I mean, I was recovering from surgeries and whatnot, so for me, it was just extended healing time.
I remember
But
the joke
yeah,
you made because wasn't it like I think it was February or maybe it might have been January. I don't know, but you had just come out and said in an interview that yeah you were retiring. You're hanging it up for a while. You thought you were retiring from music, and then like I remember that you were joking around on Facebook. Now everybody's retiring. I retired a month ago, and now everybody's
no,
retiring because
I'm just going to say, I'm glad you brought it up, Mikey, because I'm too humble a man to have brought it up myself. But I do the interview with John Swenson, and I announced my retirement from the music business, which I still think is probably my greatest contribution to music ever. And then, like 2 weeks later, I'm listening to NPR, and here's Sheryl Crow announcing her retirement. And I thought she has got to stop stalking me.
she
She checking
obviously
out my website. Obviously, I mean, she's a cute girl. She's too young for me, and
right.
I feel the age gap would come between us eventually, and I know she'll understand one day. But so I saw that, and then the whole world decides to retire for a year, and I just thought, I've always been a trendsetter. You
Always,
know,
obviously, on the
I was
edge.
wearing it on my chest years ago, and then Tiffany starts selling them, and then there's people with jeans everywhere. And I remember when I was working with Vance in the Backbeats, I wrote a song with him called "Islands in the Stream." 1 month later, Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton come out with their "Islands in the Stream." I just thought, man, they either got spies on me or I'm so tuned into the zeitgeist that I'm
Yes.
right there.
You tapped into the universe, and I could even see it like there's a train, there's the zeitgeist, and you're like grabbing off shit off the train, but the train did have a destination and it got there, and you weren't the one who was meant
Yeah.
to have islands in the stream. Obviously, you stole it.
No.
You obviously
Well, we talked about how the Coen brothers really
ripped you
owe me.
off. Yeah, oh yeah,
What ripped me off? I like those guys, but oh, brother, where art thou? They could have just said, "And thanks to Paul Sanchez."
easily,
That's all.
or giving you the lead role. I mean, you could have been
See,
Turturro's character.
I'm not that guy. I'm not going to come in and say, "Listen, I was the one who on Miller's Crossing suggested the Woody Guthrie type character." So it's 2 movies later, and you're doing the character. I should be the character. See, that's presumptuous.
If
But
though, if
a thank you for the inspiration. No, I'm
maybe
not
at the
asking for
beginning of the
money.
movie, like before a film by the Coen brothers, you should say thank you,
Inspired by Paul
Paul
Sanchez.
Sanchez, a film by the Coen
That would have
brothers.
been see, that would have been nice.
Yes, it would
I
have been
wouldn't
nice.
ask for any money on it, just to credit,
Just a
just. But
thank you,
I'm
Paul
sure
Sanchez.
once they got rolling, they convinced themselves it was their idea.
You know how creative people do get like that, don't they?
I know.
I was just thinking though, if you were to be cast in that movie, what would have been your favorite role to play if you had to, if you had to take a role because they were like, Paul, we need you in this movie because not only do you have great ideas, but you're a brilliant actor, and we do want to have an Oscar in this movie. So we'd like you
Well,
to come.
I think they should have taken Clooney out and put me in.
You think he could done
You
Clooney
know,
thing? You know, my
well,
hair.
he couldn't sing. He couldn't sing.
No, this is true. That's true.
I saw an interview with him actually where the Coen brothers wanted him to do it because they're fans, and he's like, "All right, but I don't sing," and they're like, "Oh, it's you'll be able to pull it off, George. You're great." So he said they got him in the studio, and he's there, and he sings the first song, and he said he watches, and everybody turns to each other and starts talking, and then finally, I think it was Joel comes on the talkback mic and says, "Yeah, you were right, George. You can't sing. We get somebody to do this for you."
Oh, that was great. We're done. You know, that was the other way. You could have done that too, right? It's great. We're done. One take. You're out.
One take, you're out.
And
In fact, we're going to use that take on all the songs.
right, exactly. We'll fix it in the mix. But you
We'll
just go
fix
ahead
it in
and
the mix.
take yourself home, buddy. We're good. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Cool.
you for that. We're learning
Yeah.
to say thank you for that.
By the way, though, those Union Station guys did sound great on that on those tracks. My goodness, the
Oh,
music
the music
alone,
in Brother Arthur is incredible. Yeah, no, it's great stuff.
and even the way they recorded.
Yes.
There's a story about the guy when they did the Death song. Because this guy, you probably know who he is. The singer who sang on the "Oh Death," whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know his name. Anyway, they flew him in to come record the song, and that's either a first or a second take. That version that made it in the movie, and the engineer was just, really they hadn't heard the guy yet. I mean, there's a trick, Yeah, we're all, you can be a great engineer, but you still got to set levels and things like that. So usually you burn the first take because you're trying to make sure. So you know where the safe thing is. It depends on how loud the guy's going to sing, So anyway, he had gotten lucky because the guy just came in and either with his headphones or something, he figured out where he needed to be on the mic and did that take of
Wow.
it. And, the engineer was like, thank God, because that was such a moving, stirring version that he did. Thank
Oh, it's
God
beautiful.
that
Yeah.
we got it on
Yeah.
that first take. And that it sounded, they did two takes of it and they took the first one. And, but I do, yeah. It's still a trick to engineering. It's like sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you're like, all right, usually if I'm in the middle of a first take and I know I had to change it, I'll stop you because I know, you're into it. All right, let's stop. You ready to take this now? Because of that, you don't want to get people invested in you stop them halfway. They might burn it, this inspiration is not cheap. Inspiration costs the
No.
soul. So,
Yeah, that's very well put, Mikey.
so
Yeah.
keeping
In
yourself
fact,
in it.
we were doing I think I told you all this story, but we were doing Married on Two Step for the last record with Michael Doucet out in Henderson, Louisiana,
Hmm.
and he had brought the accordionist from Beausoleil, Chad Huval, to play on the song with him. So it's the bass player Jay Burton and myself and those two guys. He wound up adding drums later because it was so swinging, and the bass player kept it so steady that Jim Kolachek came in on drums after the band, which almost never happens.
Wow,
With
yeah,
the
that's tough
cast.
too. A drummer who can come and
It's
play
really
after.
tough.
Yeah,
It requires that the band was really locked in
and that
and
the
playing.
drummer's very fluid. The drummer has to be fluid enough to be able to.
Jim's really good in the studio. I mean, he plays with a lot of different people. Plays with Andrew Duhon, and he's just a really great young drummer. Anyway, we did the first take. I mean, it's the first time these guys have heard the song, and they trade solos, and at the end they play solos together, and it's out there. The solo is brilliant. It's like explosive. And so they finish the take, and I look at them and I go, "That was awesome, guys. Can we do it again?" And they looked at each other for half a second, and they burst out laughing and went, "No." And Mark Bingham, explains like, "No, Paul, what they just did, just that doesn't even happen, but
Right.
once in a while, they just created something special for your record that they didn't even know they were going to do. They exploded onto each other musically, and we're keeping that." He goes, "What's your problem?" And I said, "Well, I got a couple of vocal things I would have redone, but no, I'll live with them now. You
Right,
know, do
right,
that. I'm not
right.
taking away magic."
I know. I mean, that is when you've got great musicians like that. There's a tendency to, it's,
And plus, two guys that know each other, that play together all the time, and so they're really pushing each other.
and I do like. I mean, because pop music has a tendency pop music has its own rules and conventions when you're making pop music, and a lot of it's doubling, very small, easy parts that are doubled and tripled, and they're more about being set up for the way that they sound instead of instead of getting inspiration together and doing that sort of thing. It's more about layers that they can control with pop music. So yes, especially if you get a pop person to go, it's funny because they have a tendency to go, I'll chop a piece of this piece and move this piece around. You know how the
Right,
Pro
right,
Tools
right.
kids do and stuff like that. But with musicians like
Yeah,
that, you can't do that because this part doesn't go into that part, doesn't go into the next
right,
part because it's all, off the cuff.
right.
And it doesn't all fit together nice and pretty like a pop music record does,
It's not pop music. It's more organic than pop music, and
Yes.
and more honest.
Hmm.
You know, to be frank, it's more honest than pop music. Not that pop music is dishonest in its lyrical and melodic content, but in the presentation,
In the
it's a lot of smoke and
presentation.
mirrors.
Yes.
You know,
It's
like
definitely
bells and
is. Yeah, it's like special effects in movies. Pop music are full
whistles.
of that sort of mindset of, what can we do to make it sound cool, to give somebody a moment that they haven't heard before. Whereas,
Right.
you know, it's like doing that stuff is like going to see a really good indie film where it's just simple, a couple cameras on the guys and they act for you
Right.
and you're like
It's a
take it
different
away.
question. What do we make it do to sound more real? You know.
Yes. Yes. And to really tap into making people feel the way I want them to feel, and taking them on the, how do I want you to feel now? Do I want you to feel? Music can do that easily, right? In fact, they use music with video to make movies great because without the music, half the time you'd just be bored and lost. Music is what makes movies really turn. They talk about that all the
Well, I
time.
mean, you could say the same with music and life.
Yes, you're right. Music makes things turn. I listened to a lot of music this week and it was kind of fun because I was working on the computer and I finished my lesson, I guess sometime Saturday morning, and then spent the rest of the weekend just actually going, all right, now that I think, let me just try to design a few things. And so I designed a few things and popped on some music that I hadn't done in ages and
I
sat
did the
there and
same thing.
designed.
We had the floors redone, so it was like putting the house back together all weekend. And
And
I was
apparently you're
just
still
playing.
doing it, right? Because I can tell you're in your bedroom again.
No, I'm in the living room.
Are you really? Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah,
It's just you're in a different
yeah.
spot. I thought you'd use the
I'm in
bricks
a different
again.
spot. I have these. These are the paintings on the walls here. Let me see.
Yeah, let's see what you got going on there.
That's by Doyle Jeter up at Enoch's.
Uh huh.
By that one is by Tony Fitzpatrick up in Chicago.
Oh, nice.
I just got the best light here, and so I just thought I'd set up here.
Gotcha. That guy that we went and visited from the Not Goods in Nashville. What's the name of that character that he likes to
Tom
play?
LaVie.
Yeah, Tom. What's his
Is that?
character? Doesn't he have a character that, like, some character that has become popular? That he.
He is a character.
Yeah, I know. But there's a piece of art, right? There was something you would. It's like a cat or something. I don't know. But it turns up in a lot of like remember the blue dog used to show up. He's got some kind of thing like that. Um,
I don't know.
I
If
thought.
he has, he hasn't told me about it.
Oh yeah, Shmoo's going. Where's the cave? There she is. Where's the cave? She's looking for your cave that you usually like to hang out in.
No, that was just when the floors were getting worked on. And normally, if you remember when we started, I was at the piano.
Yes, the piano's a lovely spot for you. Plus, people seem to
It's
like when you have
good.
a guitar.
I like the piano. I don't get as much light over there at this time of the day, and it was really overcast this morning. So I just kind of based the spot on where I had some light.
We're gonna get you a little ring light, and that way we can put it wherever the hell you want. Then you can be wherever the hell you want.
I'm probably just going to walk around with that light too. Just keep it on myself.
All the time, just like
All
that.
the
The
time.
makeup guy. Son, come
Uh,
on, follow me around. You got makeup. Let's do this. Let's
uh.
let's have some. So we have some guests later this week, right? I got to go listen to some music. Um,
Yes, we're going to have Michael Cerveris and Kimberly Kay, I think on Wednesday, to talk about their new Loose Cattle release. A
nice.
mutual, a mutual appearance by the two of them. It should be absolutely bovine.
We may have to, figure out something that sounds like work. It's so funny. Me and Paul had a plan today. Actually, Paul had a great plan. He mentioned it to me Friday before we left, and I said, "That's a great idea." And then this morning he goes, "So we're going to do that?" And I was like, Oh, I forgot all about that. Like an hour after we stopped doing whatever we were doing, you're gonna have to remind me. Hey, are you working on that? Because I was. But to be fair, I've been trying to finish that software I was telling you about, and
Right.
learning it, and I finally did. And I haven't actually produced a sequence yet, but that's next. I've created the world, and now I'm going to create a sequence and start playing with camera stuff in it, and that's when you're
So
going to be
have you
getting.
gone, have you worked in festivals, music festivals again yet?
I haven't actually gotten any calls yet about anything. We were
It's really
talking.
interesting. I mean, people are out.
hmm
I'm not out. People are out, you know.
I do. One of the companies I work with right now is selling. They sell a certain piece of gear out of Germany. Anyway, long story short, they sell to high-end touring companies and stuff. And what we're hearing is there's the infrastructure for touring is pretty broken right now, and it's kind of everybody's having trouble, getting everything together, like to finish a tour, like stuff like the trucks and the buses and the people who drive the buses. All that infrastructure died because a lot of those kind of jobs, I mean, those aren't career jobs. Those are, what you do to get by jobs. The
Yeah.
guys that do that sort of thing have moved on. And anyway, long story short, they're having trouble right now. It won't, they'll get it figured out over the next few months, but they can't just get up and go because the infrastructure's not there.
Wow.
So we'll see what's going to happen with festivals over the. I think everybody's kind of still looking at that because there are some people that were able to get out and do touring. I think some of the people that were able that have a lot of their own infrastructure, but the people that need to go out and rent stuff and do that kind of thing, they're gonna
Right,
have
right,
trouble.
right.
They're gonna have trouble right now.
I mean, it's just a whole, it's a whole different way of doing things, I think, is about to develop.
Yeah,
I
they are
don't know
gonna
what
try
that
to.
is.
Me either. I do think web streaming is gonna become a bigger part of the whole. The thing was is like before the pandemic, it's kind of like reminds me of the way we were with texting after Katrina. It's like I did not know how to text before Katrina. After 2 weeks into Katrina, I could text like the best of them. I had it
Right,
down,
all right.
right? And I think it's kind of this, everybody's kind of, didn't know about Zoom. My buddy, he got his PPP money in March of last year, whatever. Anyway, he at the time Zoom was running, I think, like $12 a share, and his brother's a financial advisor, and he was talking to his brother, going, "Man, I'm thinking about dumping some of this money I got because he picked up 30 grand, and he's like, I'm thinking about putting $10,000 into Zoom because everybody's talking about it. I can't hurt. Oh, that's just a fad." He tells him, "No, no, no, don't do that, don't do that." So now we have conversations, and Michael's still like, I could have got in at $12 a share. I'm like, "What's it running right now?" He goes, 670 something a share.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, "Oh my, yeah, same thing." It's like, imagine if you'd put 10 grand in, he'd be done. She went and saw Cowboy Mouth. Thanks to Luis. Were they in Chicago?
Well, they
Um,
were, I think, we're in Gary, Indiana.
Gary, Indiana, gotcha. Nice, Lorelai. How are they? They enjoyed it? You had a good time? I'm assuming so. She said thanks to Luis, though. Um,
Well, Luis is the king of making it happen.
gotcha. Well, he seems like
You
it,
know,
obviously.
when you have a show up there, he's calling friends and he's banging on doors to get people to come see you play.
Gotcha. Yeah, we love Luis.
We love Luis.
He
Yeah,
whenever we do one of his shows about his cosplay people, they always have way more views than the other shows. It's like
he's got a loyal following up there.
he certainly does. Brother is in trouble.
Brother's in trouble. What's that mean?
Gary, yeah, she said Gary, and it was amazing. There goes Lorelai. I'm not sure what Brothers in Trouble is about either. Shmoo, you'll have to elaborate. Nice. Well, I'm
Maybe she's
glad.
going back to might
Uh,
be going back to the brother I thought conversation. We don't know from.
yeah, we don't know from because you guys are behind us, but I'm glad. I'm sure part of it was just, hey, I get to go out and see live music. How fun is that? I imagine that's part of it.
Yeah, people are excited. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still the guy with the mask, not
hmm
going.
I went. Well, I will tell you this: if you're going to go out now, you have to be prepared. That people are, yeah. There's no people wearing masks and stuff. Bad advice, dude. There are people wearing people not
I
wearing
don't know what
masks.
she's talking about.
Yes, but people aren't wearing masks.
I
So
cannot follow Shmoo's train of thought.
she's having a morning. Um, the but you know people aren't wearing masks. What I'm saying is, don't you have to be prepared right now. You go out into the world. There's a few people that'll come up and wear a mask. Like I went and picked up some food, and only the people that were there picking up were wearing masks. Everybody that was there already was like, ah, fuck it, we're not wearing a goddamn mask. And they're
Yeah,
looking at
it's
us like, you know, what are you guys doing? Oh,
Zoom
Zoom
stock. Okay,
stock. There you
finally.
got you. Yes, the bad advice dude. Brother is in trouble. Yes, he gives his brother all kinds of grief every time he sees him now. I mean, he's got a good sense of humor about it, but yeah, he could have been a millionaire at this point. It'd have been ridiculous. Off of 10
Yeah,
grand.
crazy.
Those kind of chances don't happen often, and I certainly never take advantage of those kind of things. I'm just not a gambler. Just not my
No, I'm not a
way.
gambler.
Just
I'm a
not my
simple man.
way. Oh, so what are we doing? Are we in the air? I feel like I'm getting senile now. We were talking about the father. That's what I was doing. That was my thing about doing the father.
That's why you're getting senile.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm starting to lose my memory. The movie The Father, right? Anthony Hopkins.
Uh,
I've heard really good things about. They show you like apparently, like he's obviously an unreliable narrator, you know, because he's getting dementia. But through the movie, from what I understand, like the rooms that he's in are constantly changing. The faces on the people that he knows constantly change. Like there's his daughter's husband is three different characters, depending on where his headspace is, and he can't make heads or tails of it. And you know, you spend the movie at the beginning. You know, of course, you always trust the narrator when you start, and as the movie starts to move on, you start to figure out that wait a second, it's him.
wow.
And so anyway, I heard
Yeah.
it's really well
Yeah,
done.
he won an Oscar for that, didn't he?
Did he? I don't know. I thought that was something new that just came out, but maybe so.
I thought that's what he won the Oscar for. That
Gotcha. Yeah, it must have
Chadwick
been.
Boseman
It must have
did
been.
for. Yeah.
And
Oh, he's great.
he looks old in it too. I mean, it looked like you
He
know,
is old.
yeah, but I mean, he looked old in it. You know, a lot of times they have a tendency. Yeah, maybe they played it up too. Who knows? But
I'm sure they did. You
yeah,
know, he's supposed to be playing an old man with dementia, but he is old. I mean, he's in his 80s now, I think.
no kidding, no kidding. There
You know,
was
that was a great story that Brian Barry. You know, Brian.
yeah.
He told me he was a tour manager for a guy named Otha Turner. He was a fife and blues player from Mississippi. You know, it's an old tradition of actually fife and blues. Uh, and Otha was, and it's like a stand-up bass drum. It's its own kind of genre. And they're playing somewhere in Mississippi, and the drummer, who was Otha's like 92, and the drummer was 88, and the drummer has a heart attack and dies on stage in the middle of the show. So they stop the show and they take him away, and Otha finishes up the show, and he's over signing autographs after the show, and a lady comes up and says, "Otha, I am so sorry about your drummer." And Brian said, "Not even stop," and he goes, "Well, he was old."
Right. That's cute. So you saw Lou was talking about the Hard Rock that they went and saw it apparently at a Hard Rock casino. Cowboy Mouth played in Gary, Indiana, and I'm guessing Chicago Lou. That did were the tables there when you guys got there? Did Cowboy Mouth start telling you guys to throw the tables away? Because I'm sure they would tell you to get rid of these tables. Just you know, I don't know. Just curious. Just curious. Oh, Lou, if you're watching, who is this guy? Because we don't know. If you can see him, let's see. There he is. Where is he at? Who
I
is
went
that?
to Boston, come on, City Winery.
We don't know who that guy is.
Moo just saw the mouth at City Winery, she said.
Oh, gotcha. So they're out and they're doing. So there you go. They're out and touring.
They're back in the world, yeah.
Apparently so. And once again, they have their own infrastructure. So I'm sure they're, you know, got whatever
I
they
never
got figured out.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Because they got their own
you got to
vans and
work.
stuff. Yeah, you got to work. But that's my point. They got their own vans. They got their own crew of people that they can call on.
I don't
It's
think I mean, from what Griff told me, they were like sort of flying the gigs and using rental vans, but I'm not
gotcha.
sure.
Yeah, I think the last one that I worked on with them, it was the same thing. They were using rental vans and just flying around. So there you go. All they really need is the people, and as long as the people are available,
Right.
they're good to go.
I know that Shamar's back on the road. People are getting out there.
Yeah. So I have a feeling it's that way here in New Orleans. Um, what did she say before that? Oh, I'm not sure.
She
Justice
didn't
League,
see them recently, just in
Teen
an awkward
Titans.
setting.
All right, thank you, Lou. He's a Teen Titan. Is he? Is this Cyborg then?
I
I'm
told you
guessing
Luis
so.
would know.
Yeah. Nice. We got all, everybody's getting all excited about people dancing in the aisles.
Yeah.
So everything's outdoors only. She's saying up there. Yeah, down here in New Orleans, they seem to
Really?
have just given up on keeping
Yeah, I mean,
people.
there's definitely indoor shows for sure.
Yeah,
The DBA's open again, the Maple Leaf's open again, uh, Cat's been open, Big Muses is open, you
but it's
know.
mostly local stuff. I think smaller shows and local shows are going to be what you see. You're not going to see these big shows or big festivals until next year. I think. I could be wrong, but I honestly I don't think that that
From
stuff's
what
going to
I
happen.
understand, from what I've heard, like the really big stars like McCartney and The Who and the really big acts aren't going to be touring until 2022.
Right,
But that, Elvis Costello, that level of artist would still be going out.
right, right. And I think that's kind of what and the people that I'm talking to, like I said, were the high end ones who would handle the Paul McCartney tours and stuff, and so they're the ones
Right.
that they don't have the infrastructure in place, and so they may have
Well,
to do
those
some
tours
work,
are massive,
huh?
that's massive
Yeah,
when you're talking about tours on that level.
yeah. And so if you don't have those guys running, you can't really do the big festivals unless you keep them local, So
Right.
you could
Right.
have a jazz fest, but then you got more local artists,
Not to mention the fact that McCartney's close to 80 himself.
right, right. Although
I mean,
it is strange. I have not been watching the news, and it is weird to like kind of go from COVID craziness to within a month, everybody sort of acting like it never even happened. It's kind of
it's pretty weird. It's a mind fuck.
it is a little bit of a mind fuck. I'm in the middle of the mind fuck right now, trying to figure out, and still waiting for calls. I haven't had a whole lot of calls for work yet. When Fred said get closer, we did. If the casino was going to stop us, I was going to say blame the drummer. Nice. The drummer told us to, man. So did you go there dressed as Thor still? Were you still Fat Thor, or did you? We'll have to ask him on Friday, Lou, if he went to Cowboy Mouth as Fat Thor or not. He was cute Friday when he was
He was
going.
adorable. He loves dressing up.
I guess Gary, Indiana is pretty close to Chicago.
It is close.
Is that the one that's just right across the bridge or something?
It's like 30 miles or something. Man, the times I was playing up there, it was a scary town. I only went through Gary when I took a wrong turn and,
Oh, really?
got up. And that was scary, man. I wouldn't even stop for gas there.
Isn't that the one that
So
Michael
maybe,
Jackson's from? Gary, Indiana, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay.
Tim Cohen.
And Tim Cohen, no kidding. Yeah, well, there you go. That's obvious, right? Tim Cohen and Michael Jackson.
I mean, he was one of the people who told me, like, don't stop there.
Yeah.
Just beat.
You
And I
don't.
did. I mean, I stopped to get gas, and it was a beat town, man. I got out of there quick.
I wonder if they picked up since then.
Well, if they have a Hard Rock casino, casinos or that can revitalize a city.
Yeah, yeah. So now it's like Gulfport, right? Now it's the Biloxi of that area up there in the middle of the country.
Could well be. Could well be.
Now
I
this
mean,
just makes me hurt. Look at this guy. Look at him. He's like looking
well, I
at
don't.
you.
I mean, that's what
He's
you're doing that to him. He's not doing that to himself.
but he doesn't seem to be complaining about it. That's really, really,
That's
really.
because he's inanimate.
It's 8 minutes from his house. So do you gamble, Lou? We're gonna have a conversation with Lou anyway. It's like, hey, so you're a gambling guy. You can see him at the casinos. Just giving up his money.
I don't know. I don't know if he likes to gamble or not. I'm not a gambler. My mom didn't like to gamble, and I'm happy to say I inherited that trait from her. I don't like to gamble. There's plenty of other ways to waste money. You
Yes,
know,
agreed. Yeah, I'm not a gambler either because it drives me nuts. Like the few times that I did it, sometimes I'll make a little bit of something here or there, but I just can't even deal with the idea that I would be so mad if I did lose something. I'd just be like, oh my God, song from the Music Man keeps repeating in my
stop
head.
saying Gary, Indiana, because I missed what she said. It's all coming too fast. The chatter is coming too
it's
fast.
it's still too fast. No, it was funny. She said because the song from the Music Man keeps repeating in her head every time we say Gary, Indiana. You mean like the word Gary, Indiana? Is that the one that you're talking about? She means. Uh, he says Teen Titans Go is a fun watch. As Mark, he imagines it's even better than a left-handed cigarette. You would be wrong about that, Mark. But what about you, Paul? Do you think Teen Titans
I,
Go
I,
could be
I,
more fun than the left-handed cigarette?
what, go?
Yeah, is anything better than a left-handed cigarette? Basically,
I don't even know what do you mean by a left-handed cigarette?
it's the old marijuana. It's the Mary Jane. It's the
Is that code? I don't know that code.
yeah. At least that was one of the hippies. When they talk about those hippies and their left-handed cigarettes and
Those damn hippies. My mom used to call it muggles.
Muggles. That's a good name.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. Somebody
she
we were
used to
talking.
she used to tell my older brothers, "I know you're smoking that muggles."
It must have been you I got that from because I started calling it that to some of my friends, going, "Hey, man, you got the Muggles?" And they're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I think it must have been you I got that from then. Like, you don't know about the Muggles? And they're like, "Muggles? What the hell are you talking about?" Oh, he says it's more fun with a left-handed cigarette. Sorry, I missed the
Gotcha.
with. Um,
And I missed the wit, so there you go. Between the two of us,
between the two of us, we're just reading comments today. It's comment day. It's a Monday.
it,
It's supposed to be rainy.
I don't know what happened. It really was like that. What 80% chance of rain? It's gorgeous outside.
It's gorgeous. Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm running out of coffee. I'm so bummed. Like sometimes I wish I had a coffee maker in here, like a little Keurig or something.
Well, you know what we're going to do today, Mikey? We're going to end early
Are we?
because we used to talk about ending early back in the old days,
I remember that. I remember that. Um,
back in the '70s when we first started the show.
well, and I know you were kind of prepared to do it. So Paul is prepared to do a different type of show, y'all. He wants to not a different type of show, but one of the things we want to play with is playing some of these old songs, kind of like he was doing on Facebook, and talking about the memories they bring up, and then we can go, oh, you hear that saxophone player? That's old Chucky Elam right there, or whoever.
Well, I mean that's one of the reasons, but one of the reasons is like we don't really have much to say today.
You're not, Paul would need a left-handed cigarette for WandaVision. I think Paul tried some left-handed cigarettes with WandaVision.
I need more help than that for one division, man.
LSD maybe. Hey, you know what though? Real quick
You know,
before we
LSD would probably make that. Now I'm too old for LSD. You know, you got to have a 12-hour window of experience in the LSD, then a whole day of recovery. So that's for young people. But that would help that show tremendously.
So speaking of which, we can talk about that before we go though. So he Paul was talking about he tried WandaVision again this weekend, and
You know, I love Luis, and so I tried WandaVision again, and it's high concept, and it probably could have worked if they just would have made the shit funny. Here
right.
they are lampooning the comedy shows of the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and people just doing stupid shit. Like, I guess they thought it was clever. I guess they thought it was supposed to be like a Saturday Night Live lampoon of, but I
But it
wouldn't have minded
wasn't.
laughing. I
But it wasn't
wouldn't
that
have
funny.
minded laughing while I was sitting through this bizarreness.
Right. I
You
mean,
know, a couple of actual jokes.
and the second episode they do that business with the magic show that had potential, but it just like you said, it just never got to like the jokes just weren't funny. Because even at that point, remember he was eating the gum and suddenly Vision was acting not like himself but it
Yeah, yeah.
still
It was
didn't
painful.
get funny, right?
Didn't get funny. It was
And
painful.
style over substance, that's what we were talking about. It was a bunch
Yeah.
of style over substance. So and sadly, Lou, I think because it was WandaVision, everybody just was like, "Oh yeah, it's great, and it's so this, and it's so different, and this, that, and the other." And yeah, I mean, different bad is not necessarily a good thing, right? I mean,
Well, like I said, I don't want to disparage it too much because Luis liked it, and then he said he knows some people that like it. He might be making that up, but
I think for the Marvel heads, they just want to make sure they know what the hell's going on for the next movie because her and that show do play into the new Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah, I know. I'm
But
gonna.
no, I look. I'll be honest with you, Paul. I don't think you need to watch it. You get the gist already. She's losing
Yeah,
her
I get.
fucking mind. You know it ties up in a bow, right? You know at the end of it, it ties up. Originally, they had all of these great. Yes, Loki starts on Wednesday. I'm very excited about that. I think that could be good. But at the end of one, let me just tell you now. At the end of WandaVision, they were supposed to bring in like Doctor Strange was actually supposed to show up and be the one who helps her figure out her situation. At some point, I think COVID changed some things. So I will give them this. The show wasn't what they originally planned. Originally, it was going to come out after The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which also had to change what they were doing because their show was about a pandemic, and they didn't feel comfortable,
Wow.
going that direction. So they
Wow.
changed the plot, and the few little things that they've gotten grief over have to do with some plot issues. But they were in the middle of COVID, changing the plot of their story, and they did what they could, and it still worked
It was
out.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was great. Great fun.
Chicago Lou might be making it up bumper sticker. I agree. We should make bumper stickers. It could be part of the Another Cup of Coffee series of, could you imagine that?
Merchant.
Just being around people are like, Chicago Lou might be making it up. What the fuck does that mean? You know,
That's all right. You see, that's a good bumper sticker. It draws them in.
a friend of mine, Jay, sent me you know how the kids have all those letters that, LOL and whatever, they got all these ones. Well, there was this
Yeah.
one that was just a shit fucking string of letters. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what does that mean? He goes, look at it for a second. It's for a parent. And it had basically, it was set up to be like, get your motherfucking ass in the house before I beat, that kind of thing. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was definitely, as soon as I started looking at it from a parent's point of view, I had every word. It was like right there. It was hilarious. I got to find it because it was freaking hilarious. Oh boy. Let's see. I got Dave Torkanowski reaching out to me.
Not on our show, I'm sure.
No, no. But the funny thing was, is he reached out to me Friday when he was reaching out about that show I told you I did over the weekend, and he said, "When your show's done, give me a call." So I doubt he was watching. I have a feeling that whoever he got my number from says, he's probably busy right now. He's doing a show, but so
Uh,
there goes
yeah,
Dave.
I can't imagine Torque tuning in.
No, no. In fact, he's not because he's calling in right now. So I'm just gonna let him know. Let's see.
What are you texting on Showtime?
Hold on, I'm just telling him show day. I'll call in a few minutes. I'll call after. Boom. All right. See, that was easy. Look at that. I'm getting good at this texting thing. Remember we learned how to do that back in 2005? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know when you learned how to text, but everyone in New Orleans learned how to text in August of 2005. Actually, September of
Right.
2005.
September 2005. If you didn't know before, you sure knew after.
You sure the hell knew after. And all of a sudden you were like, wait a second, it's free to text? This is awesome. This is back. Remember they used to charge you money for the long distance calls.
Right.
And the other thing was is all of our fucking I don't know how cells work, but apparently it has to go through the router for whatever area code you're in, right? So all of our calls had to
Right.
go through New Orleans first before they went to wherever the fuck we were in the country. And so
Yeah.
basically everybody from here knew that you weren't getting any calls. It didn't matter if you were in a place that didn't have any problems with cells. The way it had to route
Right.
through there first, you still weren't getting any fucking calls. So we were still texting.
Right.
And I don't know if they still work that way, but it was a trip. Who's Ezra? Better at what? Right. Exactly, Shmoo. And who drinks coffee in the middle of the day? This is the middle of the day for some people.
It is the middle of the day for the people that are watching us in New York,
Yeah,
East Coast.
no shit. The people in California though, they're probably like it's too early for coffee. I just
Who want to
wanna,
be up?
it's too early to be up. Yeah, 7
We don't
a.m.
have any California viewers, I guarantee you.
I was multitasking. Yes, yes, I was. So I guess yeah, it's been a fun show. Paul didn't have a whole lot to say this morning. You guys notice that he didn't really show up.
I wasn't charged. I didn't come out of the gates exploding like I normally do.
No, no. How was your weekend? Was it okay? Or just
I'm exhausted.
that's
We
what's
had
going on.
we had to move all the furniture out, and they put in tiles. It took a week, and living on top of piling things, and then put all the furniture back in, and then rearranging the whole house. I'm exhausted.
Well, we'll let you get out of here early. So, but real quick, you did watch Star Wars over the weekend from top to bottom, right? One
Well,
through
no,
six.
I'm in the middle. I watched episodes one, two, and three. Then I watched Han Solo. Now I'm watching Rogue One. Then I'll move on to the Luke Skywalker episodes four, five, and six.
Okay. Did you like Rogue One?
I just started it really, and I decided I'd wait till I was a bit more awake to watch it. But I have to say, like things that I hated about Star Wars, we could have saved this for Luis, but things that I hate about Star Wars, like Jar Jar Binks. When you see it on Disney, you go, Jar Jar Binks fits. It's a Disney movie.
It's a Disney movie. Yeah, you're
I expect to go to Disney's park and see Jar Jar Binks out there flapping around, speaking his space talk Jamaican, whatever it is that he does, and the goofy fish boss that snots on himself. That's a Disney character,
it's a Disney
you
character.
know.
Yeah, and in
So it's
fact,
perfect now.
and it kind of works because when if you really think about Star Wars, they always had sort of that kind of those kind of things with them. We just Muppets. There was tons of fucking Yoda's a Muppet, so it's not like it hadn't had that sort of thing before. But the problem is when Lucas made that first movie, he had young children. They were like 5 and 3, and
Right,
that really played heavily into him wanting to figure out a way to bring them into the movie, characters that would
right.
bring them in. And there's a famous quote of him after sitting down screening the movie. It's like 2 days before it's about to really hit theaters, and George has everybody who worked on it with Lucasfilm screen the place, and after it's over, he's like, I might have gone a little too far with some of the things that I did. And so, yeah, there's a famous bit of him, they actually show it in the special features where he's like, I might have went too far with some of the kid stuff in this.
Well, we'll talk about it more with Luis on Friday, but some of the problems still exist. I mean, Darth Vader was horribly miscast and
Right.
horribly, it's
And
just it's painful.
the thing was
You
too,
know,
like that was a choice, and that's probably a studio kind of one of those studio notes things of like, instead of getting a character, they wanted a kid. They wanted to have some sort of, so here he is. He's running around. First of all, he wants to have somebody who isn't somebody else already. So he's got to find an actor that nobody's seen. He wants there to be a darkness inside of him. I mean, he's talked about when he was trying to cast this kid, but the big one that was really against him was that he was trying to find somebody who was young to play the role of Darth. And
yeah.
I think that it worked for the one movie, the teenage movie, but it really didn't work for the next movie.
Oh, for the last one, it was dreadful. It
Right.
was just painful to watch.
Because,
That
and not to mention, I
that
don't think
whiny.
people ever figured out I used to love the Angel show, and at some point they bring in, but whenever people bring in the toxic teen, I hate that character usually so
Yeah,
much because they whine and they bitch
yeah,
and everything's like,
yeah,
oh, poor woe is me. And I know that's part of being that age. I get it. But
yeah,
just leave them out of the fucking story.
yeah,
Fuck
yeah.
them. Unless you're making a
Well,
movie for them.
for a while on YouTube, there was something called the anti-cheese edits, and they had taken Jar Jar Binks out of the first one until he was just an extra and 20 minutes shorter and just as interesting. They took all of Hayden Christensen's whining and bitching out so that he was more of just like a menacing, glaring character, which is more Darth Vader-ish.
Right. Right.
You don't need to hear him whine and bitch about his pain and his anger. You let him be angry. Fuck,
Yes.
scare him.
We don't want the whining. I mean, for the love of God.
No, no, he didn't scare me. You wanted to kick him right in the nuts.
You wanted to kick him right in the nuts. Yeah, you were just like, this kid's got problems. And not only that, it's not like he was horribly abused. That was the other thing. Oh, your mom died. People's moms die all the time. They don't turn into fucking Darth Vader. It's like, come on, guy.
Yeah, yeah.
It just
Well, his
wasn't.
mom she had a rough life. But a lot of moms have rough lives, and a lot of people didn't turn into Darth Vader, as you say.
Right.
Who knows what Yoda's mom's life was like? Yoda's mom might have had a tough life. I mean, they're weird-looking little green creatures. Probably had a tough life.
Yeah, who knows if she didn't have force powers? Who knows what she was eating frogs and
Who
couldn't speak?
knows?
Who knows? You didn't do the Arrowverse. I did like the first season of Flash, Chicago Lou. The first season of Flash actually was really, really well done. The rest of it wasn't so good, but the first season was great. It was really like a comic. Um, Somebody said, "Wine, it's what the Skywalkers do." And truthfully, he's right, because Luke, when you get to the Luke movies, you're going to realize the first two movies, he
He's a
whines
one. Yeah,
the
he
whole
whines.
time.
True.
It's like,
That's
jeez.
true. I never thought about that. Wow, now you just ruined the first three movies for me. Thank you, JC.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I will say Luke's whining wasn't nearly as bad as Anakin's whining.
No, no.
It was a different level of whining.
Yes.
Lots of
Yeah.
non-whiny takes, but Lucas picked the whining ones every time. Makes sense. I could see that.
Maybe Lucas is whining.
Yeah, he was trying to tell a particular. They remember the joke, faster. What was the thing with everything? All the actors that were on that movie, like, do it again, faster, and oh god, what is it? I forgot the other word, but anyway, but him, that was his directing. Lucas just like, do it again, faster, and whatever, more something. Anyway, there was a bunch of jokes going around because basically every time they said, the three of them that worked on most of those scenes together, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and stuff, would just bust out laughing, talking about, do it again, faster and with more feeling. That's it, faster and with more feeling. Do it again, faster and with more feeling. Just kept coming at him with that. And they're like, let me guess, faster and with more feeling. All right, let's give it another shot. The Sky Whiners. That's right, Lou. You got the Sky Whiners. Was there anything
All right,
else?
we're going to sign off,
Kylo Ren
Mikey.
whined and only half a Star Walker. Yeah, you're right. Kylo Ren even was a whiner, and he was only half. All right, well, yep, that's it. Thank you guys for the chat. We enjoy hanging out with you guys again this morning. And look, we almost made our time because we started close to on time today.
We started 5 minutes late,
And
which is really on time for us when you
for
think
us,
about it.
I know.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that thing where people guess and just keep guessing, and we give away a free cup to whoever guesses how late we're going to be.
Okay, I got a lot of coffee cups. Doesn't have to be a coffee cup from the show. I just send him a coffee cup.
Lou, you are absolutely right. Leia is the only Skywalker that doesn't complain.
No, she's the toughest of the Skywalker line.
Perfectly, yes. Really, really. Now that you mention it, she was. They show up there and they're like, "What?" She's like, "What? You guys are rescuing me? What? Get the hell
Yeah.
out of here." Lorelai, glad you had a great weekend. It sounds like you had fun. Glad you were able to go out and see some music. And we'll see you guys walking around New Orleans, because I'm walking around New Orleans without a mask now. I've decided I'm the anti-Paul Sanchez. I'm going to run around without a mask and scare the piss out of everybody. That's what my gig is. Because I've been
I'm wearing
vaccinated.
a mask. As soon as I get off the show with you, I'm going to put a mask on.
In your house.
In my house, I'm just gonna wear one all the time now.
I thought I had one around my neck for a second, but I don't. Because
Oh, that's your earpiece.
yeah, I've been finding that a whole lot, where I just have one, like, I'll look down at night and I'll go like, oh, I got a mask around my neck. I didn't.
Usually, it's hanging off my ear. That's where
Just walking around like,
Yeah,
oh shit, I got to hang it. All right.
it's a
Anyway,
new fashion accessory.
random coffee cups make it even better. Here's a cup from my pantry. And we'll see everybody
Okay.
on Wednesday. Everybody do stay dry. Here's that music that you love. Here we go.
Well, I used to keep my money in a cookie jar. It was shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, her hair is as black as an alleyway, and it used to be red, and it used to be blonde. Truth is, her hair